Namaskar. Manaache Shlok, Shloka 5. Mana papa sankalpa sodhuni dhyava, mana satya sankalpa jivi dharava, mana kalpana tena kovi shayanchi vikare ghade hojani sarvachichi. Jai Jai Raghuvir Samartha. Sankalpa Shakti, the force of personal will, desire-driven intention, the resolve I want that carries us from experience to experience within one lifetime and from lifetime to lifetime, death after death. And how endlessly we breed sankalpas, known and unknown, named and nameless, the ones we choose and the ones that choose us. Naya sanyasta sankalpaha yogi bhavati kaschana. No one, declares Krishna in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 shloka 2, can move toward union with the self without ultimately relinquishing sankalpa itself. And that journey home, back to Om, is lifetimes long, involving a gradual offloading of desires, compulsions, identifications, through experience, through exhaustion, through wisdom. A journey that can seem almost impossible. Come, let us break this down line by line. Line 1. Mana papa sankalpa soduni dhyava. The last thought needs to be thoughted, says Swami Chinmayananda. Ultimately, every sankalpa must dissolve for self-realization, declares Krishna. But notice, Swami Samartha Ramdas does not begin at the summit. He begins exactly where most of humanity stands. Never mind the countless sankalpas that are brewing in the Akashik or are still rising from within you. Can you at least begin by renouncing the ones that destroy you? Because every overwhelming destiny that stares you in the face today first began as a thought strengthened through sankalpa. A resentment repeated, a fantasy indulged, an insecurity fed, an anger rehearsed, a bitterness preserved, a craving continually obeyed. And slowly, what was once only a passing thought became direction, habit, fate. That is why Swami Samartha Ramdas intervenes at the level of sankalpa itself. Do not harden into resolve any thought that darkens your inner world, because the mind eventually becomes whatever it repeatedly permits. Line 2. Mana satya sankalpa jivi dharava. Now, imagine climbing a ladder. If your upper foot is not firmly anchored, can you safely release the lower rung? No. You will wobble, you will lose balance, you will fall. The mind is exactly the same. It may succeed in forcefully letting go of what pulls it down, but it cannot remain suspended in emptiness. It must grab onto something more powerful that can pull it up. Otherwise, what begins as renunciation soon decays into suppression, frustration, even depression. And this is where many spiritual seekers lose their way. They rush to abandon what they are told is wrong before rooting into what they are convinced is right. So here Swami Samartha Ramdas introduces a tandem movement. Release the devolutionary, anchor into the evolutionary. For example, after listening to this episode, you may decide to step away from your seemingly innocuous habit of doom scrolling for an hour before sleep every night. But you cannot leave the mind jobless. You will need to occupy it with a positive sankalpa to rid yourself of this self-destructive habit. Perhaps fill that now vacant hour with a warm shower, a prayer, reading a few pages of an inspiring book that uplifts you. I'm currently rereading for the nth time Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking at Bedtime. Slowly, this deliberate swap begins to travel far beyond that 1 hour. For the final thoughts you carry into sleep become the first thoughts you wake up with. And the first thoughts you wake up with become the tone of that day. And the cumulative tone of every day begins to shape your life. Pause on that. Over time, slowly but unmistakably, the entire current of your Sankalpa Shakti begins to turn toward your evolution. Think, one resolve held with truth changes everything. Because your future, glorious, grim, or ordinary, can only erupt from the flow of your daily routine. Line 3. Mana kalpana te nako vishayanchi. Vishayas, the objects, beings, and experiences of the world. That which seduces the mind outward and keeps desire endlessly alive. Notice, almost every spiritual tradition identifies uncontrolled desire as the force that stands between the human being and their own highest possibility, their godhood. In Hinduism, it is Asura. In Buddhism, it is Mara. In Christianity, it is Satan. In Islam, it is Shaitan. Different names, same inner enemy. I still remember standing in assembly as a little girl in Kimmins High School, Panchgani, and singing at the top of my lungs, "Get thee behind me, Satan, get thee away. I don't want anything to do with you today." What was I ordering out of sight? Desire, temptation itself. With childlike earnestness, Arjuna asks in chapter 3, Shloka 36 of the Bhagavad Gita, what is this impelling force within that compels us to act against our own wisdom, to do wrong despite knowing what is right, O Krishna? And Krishna answers with terrifying directness in the very next shloka. It is kama, desire. It is mahashanu, all devouring, mahapapma, all sinful. Much of the Bhagavad Gita is dedicated to managing desire. Karma yoga to reduce desire. Bhakti yoga to purify desire. Jnana yoga to redirect and dissolve desire entirely by revealing the fullness of the self. Swami Samartha Ramdas also intervenes at the source itself, at the first inner movement toward outer obsession. Do not keep fantasizing about Vishayas, he commands the wayward mind. Line 4. Vikare ghade ho jani sarva chi chi. Now here is the fine print that underwrites desire. It never arrives alone. It multiplies, breeds, mutates. Desire is the womb of what Vedanta calls the Shadripus, the 6 inner enemies that corrode human character. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. From desire emerge its dark offspring, anger, greed, delusion, pride, and jealousy. And I add bhaya or fear to that lineage, because it is fear that held me back for most of my life until I finally recognized the desire it was erupting from. Now sit with any one of these long enough. Beyond merely agitating the mind, they deform the personality, distort perception, poison relationships, and alienate us from the world, until the whole world recoils. Chi chi, or in other words, disgusting. How disfigured a human being becomes when consumed by uncontrolled desire. Think of Ravana. Despite being wedded to Mandodari, unparalleled in beauty, wisdom, and grace, despite possessing power, wealth, mastery, and even a harem of celestial denizens, he still burned for Sita. Did he long for her purity, her steadfastness, her spiritual greatness? No, he could not even comprehend those qualities. What consumed him was an obsession to possess. Against all odds, his ego hardened into insistence, I want, and worse, I must have. That single uncontrolled craving blinded one of the most brilliant beings in Indian scriptural heritage so completely that he wagered away his kingdom, his greatness, and finally his very life. Swami Samartha Ramdas is speaking very sternly to the mind here. Desire, when obsessed over, beyond ruining your peace, makes you unbearable to the world. 4 lines, 1 map. Drop the resolves that pull you away from your higher self, your highest truth. Take up only those sankalpas that move you toward it. Do not keep revolving around objects and beings of this world that excite and delude the senses. For unchecked desire corrupts the mind, repels the world, and finally alienates you from yourself. Until next week, Krishnaya Arpanamastu.